Welcome to Fangirl Diaries. This is your fangirl host with the most, Danny. And let's get into today's entry.
Oh, Lilia, they're not really going to hear you this time around. Isn't that sad? I like that they can't hear you go, mm-mm. But anyway, hey guys, it's your girl here. I don't know how I'm starting this episode. So Lilia is unfortunately sick this week. So she is not in-house with me to record. I'm all on my own with the dog. Isn't that sad? Oh, but Lily is here with us in spirit on our Discord that we're slowly creating. Because who knows, maybe you guys will join us there one day, right, Lilia? Again, I keep going, yeah, Lilia, and then there's silence because no one else can hear us. Um, but yeah, so this is going to be an interesting episode. This week, we're going to be doing our two-part GMMTV New York special, I guess is what we should call it. Because if you were in New York this past weekend, or if you're in LA, I think this week, Ponpuin, William S., and then LYKN had all their events. They had it here this past week in New York, or like last week by the time you're hearing this. I was able to go to two of these events. I was able to attend on Saturday, the 8th. I went to see Ponpuin at their fan meet, their fan day. And then on Monday, I was able to go see LYKN. So this week we're going to be doing ThamePo in honor of me getting to see LYKN up close. Isn't this exciting? So yeah, we're going to start there. Alrighty, so I had the honor of paying an exorbitant amount of money for a platinum ticket to see my boys LYKN. I was super excited. This is obviously the concert that was postponed from, I believe it was originally supposed to happen back in November, and then it got moved to, well, March. I believe due to visa issues, which I'm really happy that the boys, were able to sort it out and that the company was able to get them here. So I had the full platinum experience, which was great. So that meant that I got to actually meet the band. So I basically had soundtrack, fan sign. I got to do a one-on-one photo with them, and then a high touch. So I'm going to talk about my experiences with the concert in general. If you're listening to this and you were at the concert and I gave you a freebie, hey, thanks for stopping by. And then I also just kind of want to reiterate, I did see a couple of videos from people online these past couple of days, kind of explaining their experiences, which kind of opened my eyes to a couple of things that I thought was happening from what I was seeing. So for my ticket, platinum, obviously early entry, all that jazz. I had to be there obviously early. Apparently some people were there like really, really early. I basically got there at the time that doors were going to start to open for platinum, and around 1:30, I rarely get the day. I work every Monday, so it's really rare that I'm getting up like super early on a Monday to go anywhere in the city. I happen to, not to expose myself too much, but I happen to live close to my job. So I was kind of having like a lazy Monday morning, but I got there by like, I think 1:35. Funny enough, there was like an influx of like fangirls, fanboys, because up the block from the LYKN concert, there was like a Harry Styles pop-up store. I just thought that was really funny because like I'm trying to like get to the venue, trying to find it, because I've been to this venue maybe once, and I was like, oh, there it is, and I was like, huh, my Google Map says it's 2 blocks, but it's right there. Then I pulled up and I was like, oh, that's a Harry Styles pop-up event. But yeah, so I got there at 1:30. The line was so long. I could not believe the amount of platinum. Like, it was taking us a hot second to get through. From what I noticed, I think there were some people who were online who may not have been platinum. I'm not 100% sure. But from what I was told later on, when it came to the platinum tier, apparently 200 tickets were sold, which, considering the size of the venue once we got inside, was a lot. It was not a big venue. So the venue was at the Music Hall of Williamsburg. I'd been at that venue. I think I've been to that venue maybe twice. Once that I can remember was for a K-pop group called One Team, and this was right before COVID hit. They weren't a huge group, so there was a lot of open space when I was there. But for this one, it was like compact. So there was platinum tickets, gold was the second highest tier, silver, and then general admission. So because we had fan sign, we obviously were let up first. Having to go up these absorbent amount of stairs, and I was this close to going, like, after reaching the first leg, going back down and being like, hey, I can't climb up these stairs. It's too much for my leg, because I do have a bit of a leg issue. It's really hard for me to walk around sometimes, or at least when I sit down, it's hard for me to get up. But it was painful. I think by the time we finally got upstairs, I was in a lot of pain. That was a bit much. But besides that point, that was just kind of just me being me. The experiences itself weren't horrible, but they were rushed. The boys were amazing. I will say some of the staff were for the most part great. I don't really have too many complaints. So, like an idiot, because the weather has been going a little crazy, I brought a jacket, not like a winter jacket and a hoodie, because when I left the house in the morning, it was cold. And when like right when the show was ending and I left, it was starting to get a little chilly, not as bad, but it's fucking cold this week. Like when we're recording this, it's like winter again outside, but we just had like an entire day where it's 70 degrees. So I unfortunately was like the only idiot with a giant coat. And I had to ask one of the staff members for the fan sign happen if they could hold my coat for me somewhere, which they were very nicely obliged to do it. They actually put it somewhere else. The boys were so sweet. I obviously was so fucking nervous. I was not sure what I was going to say to these guys. I was like, the closer we got to them, I was like blanking out. I think William might have been first, and I just idiotically with almost all of them was like, how you liking New York? Like, by the time I got to Lego, that's when I was like, I know what to say to Lego, because I want to point out, when it comes to like biases now, that Lego is my all-time bias when it comes to that group. I love him so much. He is my favorite, and I was so excited. I was like, I just want you to know that I think you're so beautiful, so gorgeous. I just love you. And he goes, oh, you're beautiful too. And I almost cried. I was like, don't lie to me. But they were all so sweet. The one thing I didn't like, I know there was 200 of us, but the one thing that everyone complained about was the fact that, like, much at every fan sign, I'm sure this happens, but we started getting grabbed by staffs. I want to point out, I hadn't said 2 words to I think Hong, and then suddenly I felt a woman grab my sides and like shove me to the next one. And I could tell the boys were kind of like looking at them like, why are we rushing? Like, they didn't start late. Because when I thought about it more so later, as we were being let in, that's when fan sign was starting. Because by the time we got upstairs, and I was one of the last people online. I actually ended up being the last person for Platinum Online. We were just being rushed through. And it's like, yo, we paid. I want to point out that on this listing, it was $300 for the ticket plus tax. I think we may have all paid like, what, about $330 at most. So the fact that they were kind of pushing and shoving us was kind of ridiculous. So we get to the photo, and that's kind of when we realize, like, oh shit, there is a lot of people. So Platinum was put in first. Obviously, it was a 1 to 5 photo, and I guess we didn't realize till later that Gold also got 5 to 1. And then Silver was 5 to 5. General admission, I forgot they got photos, was 5 to 10. So it took a while to get to Platinum and Gold, because if it was 200 for Platinum, Lord knows how many Gold. So we get online, we're waiting. I was literally the last person to get a photo for Platinum. I was the very last one. So I hope my photo came out cute. I don't have it yet. We noticed while we were online that, like, oh, this venue is not big enough for the amount of tickets they sold, because Platinum filled up the entire floor. And while we were standing there, so on the floor, they had kind of markings as to where Gold and then Silver were supposed to like be held, because when you look at the photo on the initial listing when they announced the tour, it was like Platinum standing was supposed to be closer to the stage, Gold was supposed to be in the middle, and then Silver in the back. Where I ended up standing for the entire fucking show is where Gold should have been at. So we're waiting there for our photos. It was kind of like staff was trying to get us to line up, but there were times where we kind of like slowly kind of dispersing, which, like, of course, when you're waiting there for like ever. So finally we go, we take our photo. I do my little pose. I say bye to the guys. It takes a few minutes. A lot of people did great photos. Shout out to like everyone who did such cute poses and everything. Some of the dads, I think, that were there with their kids. Also a lot of fun. And it was just a great time watching everyone get their photos. But again, I was the very last photo. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because as we were taking our photos, people who were in Platinum, who were much earlier in the in the line were being taken to the balcony because that's how packed it was. They had to put people in the balcony to let in the next tier. So because it took forever for the next tier to get in, they ended up getting behind. And then gold started. And then as I was being left off stage, and mind you, I had met a friend, we were told that we had to go outside. They literally took us all outside. We waited outside, I think, for about, I want to say an hour, because they had to go through gold, silver, and then I don't know how many general admission tickets there were, but by the end of the night, I had to feel like there wasn't a lot. So we're waiting and we're waiting, and then we get brought in for sound check. And this is where it got weird because platinum was put on the floor. And the sound check happens. It's only once. I want to point out they came out and did one song. They talked to us for a few minutes and that was it. And mind you, I don't know how they do sound check in Thailand, but like I've done sound check for, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 groups. So I've done sound check not many times, but I've done it like a handful of times to kind of be like, okay. So like I've done it for like BM. I've done it for I did it recently for TXT. I can't remember the other time I did it. For BM, Big Matthew from Card, I'd done his solo one. He had performed, I think, I want to say 2 or 3 songs, and we had talked with him for like a while. He like joked around with us. So it at least felt like it. With TXT, I think I have like 3 or 4 videos recorded of them doing songs and then chatting to the crowd. So this sound check to me, I don't know how everyone else felt about it, was kind of underwhelming because it was only like one song, and you know, they did chat with us for a little bit, but it just felt like we were being rushed through sound check. So that happened, and I remember looking up, and I before the concert started, they had announced who had won the Polaroids. We actually were standing by someone who won a Polaroid, so congrats to that person. I'm sorry I forgot your name. I don't know if there got it, but he got a Polaroid. He had also apparently won a Polaroid for William, and I think William and Esther Pompey, I can't remember, but congrats, lucky duck. And I was looking up and I noticed that there was a lot of gold and silver up there, and I remember thinking like, oh shit, those people are going to come down here any minute, and this is going to be much tighter than this. It was tight. I could barely, like, I could move a bit, but like it was getting tight. People I was talking to around me, they was like, no, it's probably general admission. I ended up finding out later that I was right, that was gold and silver. So from what I saw on TikTok, and I've only seen 2 videos so far, and I haven't seen anyone else's, and I've seen a few, I haven't seen too many I've seen more complaints about the Mexico show than I've had the New York show. But from my understanding, I was right. So that was gold and silver who was kept put in the balcony. And from what I was hearing, they were kept there because it was too tight for them to come back down. So that's already fucked up because they paid to be on the floor. Now they can't be on the floor. Mind you, most of them probably couldn't even see if they were on the floor, and it would have been dangerous. I remember standing there and they had the ADA section being from the right side of the stage, and they moved it to the left because so when we got back into the venue for sound check, they had open coat check. I was the only person who put a coat in coat check, but I just could not hold all that shit with me the entire night. And then I was able to meet up with a group of people who I made friends with online, which was great. But they had to move ADA. And then I found out through some videos, I think from people who were general admission, that they were then put behind the people who were gold and silver who were kept in the balcony, and they couldn't see anything. I was seeing videos of comments of people saying like, oh yeah, we left a few songs in because we couldn't see anything, which by the way kind of sucks because sound check was supposed to happen and then we were supposed to do high touch. Everyone was supposed to get high touch, and they moved it to the end of the show because there was just no time to do it. Mind you, it should have always been scheduled for after the show. I don't understand why that was scheduled for before the show started. It just seemed dumb to me. But whatever. But that means a lot of people ended up leaving and maybe missing out on doing high touch. Mind you, that experience was a little, I mean, it wasn't really rushed for me. I kind of made it rush for myself. But so yeah, so the concert happened. I believe I had heard from other people that Lego was a bit ill that day. He wasn't feeling too well. And I'm not sure how true that was. I will say from what I can see, he did seem a little under the weather from the way he was like acting, but he still was he was giving his all and everything, which was great. But I know that William has like a really tight schedule and they also have really tight schedules. So it's just crazy to me to kind of see them, you know, not feeling their best and still giving their all. It makes me feel bad because I'm like, please don't strain yourselves. Like, you know, if you need to take a minute, because I want to say I found this out. We were online outside. So I want to say this because we had And I remember I pointed this out to everyone while we were taking photos. They took a break in the middle of Platinum, and Lego was the first one to get up and like rush past. So, you know, if Lego was sick, I hope they're feeling better now because I know they have a couple more tour dates and other things that have to get done and all that. Concert itself was great. All the songs were a lot of fun. It was a little hard of seeing here and there. You're gonna see. I took a lot of videos. You're gonna see them. I already posted, I think, from Soundcheck their introduction and then their performance of Drip because I love that song. Show was great. So show ends. We're getting ready to do Soundcheck. I end up getting online. I'm about to go do it, but I'm like, hey, so I have a coat in coat check. What do I do? Because the entrance to coat check was like right next to where the boys were standing. I had to go down those stairs. I ended up having to go all the way around, get downstairs, but luckily I got to go to the bathroom, which was great. Got my back from Soundcheck, ran back up, and they pushed me out. So there were people still inside, I think from Platinum, who were just hanging back, I guess, for whatever reason, I don't know. And then Gold was coming down, and I think the girl that I was talking to someone, trying to send them a photo, and then they kind of pushed me for, they're like, you guys have to go. And I'm like, okay, we see that. Give us a second. You can send Gold out. We're right here. I'm not trying to be like last or anything for this one. I'm literally just getting my foot in. But I said, fuck it. So I ran out. The boy saw me because I think the last group of Platinum before us two had just finished. And then I guess I technically became the start of Gold. But I jumped off, said bye to everyone, high-fived. And then that was kind of the end of the experience. So overall, the performances were great. Staff could have been better. That venue was not it for this show. They oversold tickets. That could have been way worse. So much shit could have happened that had they not thought to move High Touch at the end, if they had not thought to leave Gold and Silver upstairs, someone could have gotten hurt. I get panic attacks, and I've had spells of like being in crowds that are really tight. Like I remember back years ago, I went to go see Gerard Way on his first solo concert. I had to be basically crowd surfed to the front and taken out because I was falling and was like having a hard time breathing. So I could only imagine what would have happened if they had left all of Gold and Silver on the floor. We would have been in so much danger. So I don't know what the venue is for their next tour, just because I haven't looked. I haven't looked yet, but I really hope it's a little bit bigger. I think it's not going to be in Manhattan. They have another concert coming up. They're coming back, I believe, in the summer. I wish I could find the date. Like, Jesus. They're coming back to New York August 22nd. I don't think they've announced a venue yet. I know that for a fact. So I hope the next one, I hope from this experience, they realize that they need to get a much bigger venue. That was just not it. It was disorganized. It was crazy. It could have been way worse. And I just hope that doesn't happen again because it was really scary. I mean, I was fine, thank God, but like looking back at it now and having to hear that like, oh yeah, they put Silver and Gold in the balcony when they weren't supposed to be in the balcony is insane to me. But overall, LYKN gave an amazing performance, and I hope this opens the door for more T-pop to come down here. I would love to see like Jasper and Clover and other groups. You know, Jeff, funny enough, the week before Jeff Satra, he was like here for, I think, for Good Day America. I was like, what are you doing in New York, my man? So hopefully he can tour, because I hope that this shows that there is like an audience for it. But other than that, like, despite all of that, meeting everyone was fun. Getting to exchange freebies was fun. I got this really cute freebie. I got two really cute freebies that I like, my two favorite ones. Everyone's was great, but I had to shout out these two. If you're listening and you gave me these, one was like a keychain that was like wrapped around and like really wolf-like, and I think it says LYKN on it. I'm putting that on my keychain. And then I got someone made a 3D like printout of the LYKN light stick as a keychain, which I love because I really want that light stick. I'm trying to go to Thailand, not for Songkran. I know that in the past I've mentioned wanting to go for Songkran. I'm going to try to go now for LOL Fest instead because it happens in the weekend of my birthday, and I would love to try to pick up the LYKN light stick while I'm there. But overall, yeah, so it was a great other than that little stuff, other than those things there, it wasn't a terrible experience. The show was a lot of fun. I can't wait to post more videos. I will say the cutest thing was they got to the section where they were doing all the songs for ThamePo, and they introduced themselves as the member of Mars, and I love that. I have that recording, and I can't wait to post that for all you guys. I know it's already been posted probably a million times over, but still. So yeah, that was overall my experience. I would love to, if you're in the comments, hear if you went, how it went, or if you were in LA, how did the LA show go? And not to stress this out any longer, but I was hearing that the Mexico show was not great, that the staff was kind of like not it. And, you know, if you were at the show in Mexico and you had a really terrible experience, I'm really sorry that happened. And I hope the next one is better. But yeah, like let me know. And if, you know, if you happen to be hearing this and I gave you a freebie, like let me know in the comments too. Love to say hi. All right. So that's it for my little discussion on the concert. And if you couldn't put two and two together, this week we are going to be talking about ThamePo. So let's get that started. Alrighty. Before we start, I keep forgetting that the title of this show is literally ThamePo, Heart That Skips a Beat. It's a bit of a long title. So let's get into the synopsis. So when Poe is tasked with documenting boy group Mars' final concert before their disbandment, he inevitably becomes the closest confidant of Leader Thame. Despite his wishes, Thame's about to make his debut in South Korea, leaving the rest of the group, Dylan, June, Nana, and Pepper, these names, behind, rift with misunderstanding. That's basic. You know what? I'll give my dramas that actually was a decent translation. So this show, I want to point out, I don't think it's on any platform. I think the first episode's on MeTV. So this was on YouTube, and I cannot express, because I know this past week there was a thing going on with GMM and like Gaga Ooh La La, because I think a lot of shows are now from GMM going to go on streaming services instead of like starting on YouTube. Specifically Gaga Ooh La La, because I know Cat for Cash and OnlyFriends is on there. I prefer when shows are on streaming services, I'm being honest with you. I can't with, I don't know, maybe it's my ADHD. I get distracted easily when I'm on YouTube. It's hard for me to watch shows. It wasn't so when I saw Tunnel's Love, but maybe it's because I was watching that like as it dropped at like 10 in the morning and then was like half asleep while watching it. But this one was one of those shows where I was just like, you know, when these shows go like hit the commercial break, it's not the same as when YouTube gets the commercial break. And I'm basically going to be paying for like YouTube Premium at this point if I'm going to be having to watch like SOTUS and other GMM shows. And there are a couple of like other BLs that are on YouTube. So just so I can have free ads, which is like great, another streaming thing, but maybe that might be better. So this show, I had so many feelings. It was really good. I enjoyed it. Funny enough, there's a lot going on in the like idol community this week that as I was watching this, I was like, this show feeds a little too much on the Delulu in some places, but then also tries to call it the fans, but I feel like not enough. I don't know. So it is a very heavy like Wattpad, like fan gets with idols type relationship. Lilia, if you're listening from the beyond, since you won't hear her reply, you should watch this one. You would really like it. It's not like other BLs where like I'm like, oh, there's a lot of NC scenes. This is a really sweet one. You would actually really like this one. Trust me. She's hearing from the beyond. So the characters are really likable. The villain pissed me off the most. Although when we got to the ending, the one thing I didn't like was how the ending kind of fell flat for me in a sense, but we'll get to that. So basically Poe is a photographer. He has been out of the game for a couple of years. Funny how this week and next week's episode are both about photographers. And the reason he's been out of luck is because he had taken time off from working as a photographer to help his boyfriend start up his business, design their logo, and then he eventually got dumped, which is sad. So he's kind of trying to get his footing back in after he's been out of the game for a while. Literally, the show kind of opens with him doing an interview. And this, like, okay, I have to call this out because when this scene happened, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I love Poe as a character. I want to point out I love S. I'm gonna get to my relationship with him and BLs in a second, but he literally, the show opens. He's in an interview and they ask him, why were you on a hiatus for 3 years? Like, there's a big gap here. His response, oh, I had a family emergency that I had to deal with. And you would think that would be it. Nope. He legit tells them he literally stopped working because he was helping his boyfriend start up his business. And now that that's over, he is trying to get back in the game. Don't tell employers that. Because now you look like you're incompetent when you're in a relationship. So if you haven't yet started interviewing, don't do that. That's not smart. So he doesn't get that job. And then obviously his parents have to slip him some cash because he's working as like a seamstress or something, or a tailor, I guess would be the better word. And in come in his friend, who, funny enough, this girl, I can't remember her name. Can't remember the character's name. I'm not going to get into it because she pissed me off at one point. She apparently asked Thame to like design a fan project for him for Mars. And he does it, pays for it. She's a full-on fangirl. She, from my understanding, works for a company that is connected to their company. Here's that they are looking for a director for a documentary for Mars's next concert. And then homegirl is like, I got the person for you. This would be like, Lilia, if you and I had a friend who was a photographer and we found out that Hybe, so it's a really big hit, needed someone to film the documentary that BT is about to happen. And we were like, hey, I got the guy for you so that we could get intel. That's basically what she was doing. And I respect it to a point. But like, homegirl, you're going to get fired. Like, I don't know how they didn't figure out, like, because they do background checks. How did she hide the fact that she like runs a fan club? She runs the Twitter for like their fan club. I was like, how did like background checks not clock that? You figure that out. So we can do it ourselves. So the whole point of this series, right, is that Thame is about to go solo. So we find out after Poe gets the job is that the group is disbanding. Why is the group disbanding? Is because a company in South Korea has taken interest in Poe and wants to debut him as a soloist in Korea. And thus, because of that, Mars is going to be no more. I want to point out, I think that is the stupidest shit I have ever heard. What do you mean you're going to disband this group, send one member to be a soloist, but yet not continue with the 4 other members? Like, I did not understand that one bit. I also could not understand the obsession with wanting to debut in South Korea. Because, like, I didn't understand the obsession of wanting to have your idol debut in South Korea. They were like, it's going to help T-pop explode. In what way? Because Lisa debuted and she's from Thailand. And as far as I'm aware, I hadn't heard T-pop at all until I got into BL. Same with like a member of G-Idol. I think Mimi is from Thailand as well, right? So I don't get how it's supposed to help Thailand. Also, I want to point out New from Xenu. He also recently debuted a single in Korea. Until K-pop exploded, I don't think, maybe I'm wrong. Has Korea always been the hub for music in Asia? I don't think that's ever been a thing until like recently. And even now, I don't think so. Because most K-pop groups are trying to break over here. I feel like Japan would have been like make more sense as like a bigger music hub, but what the hell do I know? But it was like this big obsession of like, we're gonna send Thame. We're gonna say Thame to fucking South Korea so he can debut as a soloist, and because of that, his other members hate him or angry at him or whatever it is. But I still don't understand. You have these 4 other very talented boys, because as far as I'm aware, Dylan makes music, June also designs stuff, and Nino, I'm gonna call him Nino. I think it's Nino, which is Lego's character, who was the cutest in this entire series. He's the main dancer, and if you know LYKN, Lego is that bitch when it comes to dancing. The amount of tricks that they do on stage with that boy, like they did a flip with him, and I can't remember who the other one was at the concert, and I was like, oh shit! My heart stopped for a second. I was like, oh my god, please be careful, because he was like not feeling well. But it didn't make sense to me. Why are we disbanding a whole group? Isn't this funny that we're talking about this Lily of the week that the ENHYPEN situation is going down? It's kind of the opposite of that situation where a member left, like, I don't want to get too into the ENHYPEN thing right now, but just to compare, the reason why it's the opposite is that member left of his own accord to become a soloist. Thame here is not given a choice, right? As far as we're aware, the rest of the group is fine with it. In ENHYPEN's case, in this case, we know for a fact, because we're watching the story, that they are not happy about it. But also, unlike ENHYPEN, Mars is supposedly disbanding. But again, I think that's stupid. Why would you disband it when you have 4 boys? What pisses me off more, because this is not me going all over the place, but just because I just want to talk about certain points, is that at the end of the series, as we're getting close, by the way, 13 episodes, Jesus fucking Christ. This did not have to be 13 episodes. I feel like this could have been a good round at 10 because it felt like it went on for a while. Like, I got to an episode 12 and I was like, we could have ended this here. We did not need a whole episode of like, this is the plan. But going back to it, we get to episode 11, 12, and the CEO lady is like, I tricked you guys. Haha, I'll get to what that means more in a second. Thame is going to Korea and you guys are going to stay back. Ha ha ha. And they're all sad because he's leaving, but they're still going to get to continue. She like literally is letting them do what they want to do. She's letting June become a movie star. Dylan is going to produce the next song, and I think I think he's going to continue emceeing or whatever it was, and you know he's going to be given vocal lessons and dance lessons so he can continue improving. And I'm like, bitch, if you had just given them this shit from the beginning, you wouldn't have had this entire situation happen. Like, you literally could have been like, Thame is going to go to Korea, but you guys will get all of this so you guys can continue to be Mars and improve. What was the thought process? Like, also super like, it seemed just so unrealistic. I didn't get it. I was so confused. Like, this woman confused the fuck out of me when it came to her dastardly plans. Like, homegirl, do you know what you're doing? I don't feel like you know how to run a company. Because this doesn't make any sense. You just gonna cancel their contracts of these really 4 talented boys? So, not to go beat for beat, but we do end up finding out he's leaving essentially because he signed a contract that he would cover the debts of all the boys if he agreed to go to, I think Korea was what it was. Because according to the company, he's the only one that the people in Korea are interested in. Which, again, didn't make sense to me, but whatever. You know, the only way to make sure these boys weren't in debt, that he would cover it. But it's like, these boys are only going to be in debt because you're going to disband them, even though you can continue having them. But whatever. And he's like sacrificing himself, and the boys are mad, obviously for different things. So like June is mad. June, I think, wants him to go because I think he finds out, from what I remember, Pepper is kind of like Pepper's story. I do want to talk about a little more, but just to kind of essential it here, he falls in love. He apparently started a relationship, so he kind of knows his time is his clock is ticking in terms of being an idol if someone finds out. So he kind of sees maybe this is an out. And then Dylan is mad because he and Thame were working on a song and it got rejected for the solo. I think for the solo, like, it got rejected, and before anything could be said to him, it was kind of like, well, in Thame's best interest type thing that they don't do it, and it pissed him off because it's like, we were supposed to work on this together and now you're kind of pushing away from me type thing. And then no, because he's the youngest, he's a baby. Oh my God, there was a scene where Lego cries, and my heart, I was like, oh, this is the reason why he's my favorite, because in episode 12, episode 11, where the CEO kind of pulls the rug under them, and she's like, Thame is still going to Korea. You guys are going to stay here, but he's going to leave. And you just hear him crying. He's like to the side, and literally my heart broke. I couldn't. I was like, my poor baby. Thank God. I was thinking about that at the concert. Oh, I love Lego. He's my favorite. He's like one of my sons. It's like him, Nat, and Nat. I love them both so much. They're so cute. I love watching them perform. The ThamePo relationship. I could understand why the company wouldn't have hired him in the beginning, that first one he interviewed with, after he was like, you know, I left because of my boyfriend, because he's a very romantic person. He loves love, I think, is kind of the vibe I got for him, because he was clearly very hurt after his ex left him, and he kept items, his ex's shirts, his ex's cups. By the way, before I forget, his ex is only shown like a couple of times. He is played by Pepper, and I think this is like one of the last BLs Pepper was in before he left, and I think he joined Mundi. I think he left with his girlfriend, who I believe was in another show we reviewed recently, or might have thought about doing. I can't remember. And before I forget that, so side character wise, really quick before I go back, because I will forget. Sammy, my girl Sammy's in this, and if I'm not mistaken, this is technically Drake's last full series BL before he left GMM. I know he was in that, I think it was like Truth or Dare? I can't remember what the show was called. But there was like another show he did after this. I think it was like Truth or Dare or something like that, where he's in an episode where he plays like the secret boyfriend of an idol. But in this one, this is like his last full series under GMM, which Drake, if you're listening, I know you're not, but I miss you. I mean, I hope you're doing well. I think he's done some things recently. I think he's got a show coming out, or he's working on some stuff with another company. But it's kind of sad. He was one of those pillars where, like, you knew it was a GMM show if you saw one of a few people, which was like, well, at least currently for me, it was like anytime you saw Drake, Sammy, or the twins. That's how you knew. And yeah. So to go back to Dear Sweet Poe, he's kept these mementos of his ex, and what got to me was like early. So before we find out that Thame is kind of sacrificing himself for the group, and he's kind of a grumpy puss because like he's no longer going to be with this group. He has to follow what the studio wants, and he's not going to be with them. Poe calls him out and is like, they start off rocky. Thame thinks he's a Sasang because he remembers him from a fan meet where he saw him take photos of him, which, god damn, his memory is really good if he remembers that in a crowd of like hundreds. So they start off on the wrong foot, and Poe finds out it's their final concert, and he's technically a fan. Like, he is pretty much, he's got a little fanboy crush on Thame already. But he calls him out of it, being like, you want to fix their reputation, but yet you're leaving. He's calling him out, kind of screaming at him as if he's his boyfriend, his ex, saying you use people and then you leave them, and it's obviously not it. But I felt hurt for Poe in that moment, because you could really tell he really felt that relationship was everything to him, and it really hurt him to the core that's why he left. He loves love. Like, when he's in love, he's really in love, because you watch it in the series as him and Thame get together and get close. He gets new cups for them together, and because they do eventually have to break up because it wouldn't be a serious life drama. It hurts him, and I felt for it. Like, their relationship was really cute as it was getting together. It was kind of slow and stuff. So I will say, though, this is one of the few BL series where I didn't fast forward past the musical numbers. I mean, that's not completely true. I can only hear a song so many times in one series after so many episodes. Like, they did play Who Says, like, I think 4 or 5 times. So I listened to it a couple times. But all the other performances, I just love listening to it. I didn't realize that Would You Mind was not played by them at all in the series. So the band, they do reconcile really quickly. So I think what's so great about the ThamePo relationship is that Poe kind of pushes Thame to get the band back together, because he notices, I think, after their whole little stubble of like fighting and not really understanding each other, once they kind of take a step back and see who they are, they kind of realize they're not much different. So there's a scene, I thought this was really sad, bittersweet, and I think this calls The Fight, was that so the documentary is basically their goodbye to Thame. And they're supposed to shoot an entire scene where Thame is going to give these gifts to each of the boys. The company has decided that he's going to give them bracelets, which was stupid. But Thame had brought his own gifts, items that, we find out from the fangirl friend telling Poe of items that each of the boys like need. So like, I think June has trouble sleeping, so he gives them a dream catcher. Nano collects shoes, and there's like this one pair he's always wanted, and things like that they would really need. But it's when you really think about it, it's kind of bittersweet that he's not in this best relationship with them, and they're not happy with him, and he knows it, and he's planning on giving this to them as a goodbye, as of I will always think of you guys, but this is it. Like, this is these items that I know you guys really want, or like I feel like you really need, and my way of understanding you is also the way that you will remember the last time you saw me, and it's going to make it bitter and angry. So I can understand why that wasn't like I could understand his motive of wanting to do that, because like, hey, this is kind of it for it, like the last time you see them, but it's understanding why that probably wasn't the best way to like say goodbye, is giving them these gifts. But I guess that point where Poe is like, okay, you should reconcile with them. June, very quickly, he's like, I want him to go to Korea, because I know that he's basically taken on the burden of our our debt for us, and he doesn't want him to feel like a burden anymore, I guess. But that is like, it's also funny because like he kind of plays triple agent, where like he tells the studio heads, I'm gonna find out who is causing Thame to be like this, and then also being like, yeah, we're getting the band back together because fuck them. So he's like they're double spy, not triple spy. I don't know why I said double spy. And then it's funny because you think that Dylan would be the hardest one, but they just like rap battle thing that I was like, okay, really cute. Pepper was the easiest one. He was like, yeah, I'm here for this. But then we find out why he was the easiest to get back, because he kind of knows his time is over. Almost, not really. But then, oh, my poor sweet baby boy. He's like, he really, Lego made me cry. Okay. I gotta give Lego props. I need them to put Lego in a show. I don't know how. Okay. So I know there's like this whole thing about wanting to get him in a coupling. You know, we've seen him with like Barcode, but Barcode now has a partner, I guess. Or at least he's gonna be in a show with a partner. I don't know how official that is, but whatever. Lego looks great with everybody because obviously we see him with like Gemini and everything, but not Gemini 4. He was fourth actually, and Chris, and he has good chemistry with everybody. I need him to lead a show. Listen, I was the biggest fan of Diva Deva, you know, Me Too Love. I had some issues, but like Lego was like my favorite part of the entire episode, like the entire series. His episode, because it's basically half of an episode of them trying to get him back, is so sad because he's the youngest, he's the Makran, and he makes a point that like they all kind of don't understand why he disappears from them for a bit and why he won't see them. It's because he doesn't know what he's supposed to do after this. He's what does one do when when a band is not fully established? He's not maybe the most popular member. He's a good dancer, but that's all he's got. So that means what? Does he have to now debut in a new group? What is he like? And it's funny because Poe sees a lot in him, because for him, the disbandment of the group is like Poe going through a breakup. He's starting to do a billion different things, wanting to learn a new language, learn a new skill, because he feels like he's going to be with nothing after. And it's so sad. And then the group was like, we're gonna help you. They start helping him with the singing and everything. And I'm just like, the moments like that I really loved. Overall, it's a really good series. I really enjoyed watching it. We're gonna go to the Pepper thing in a second, but I think this is one of those things where like I am more versed in like the K-pop community as opposed to the T-pop. So it's very similar, but also I guess very different in a sense. I don't, with these fandoms, a lot of the groups that I listen to feature people who are in couplings, are in shows, are mostly actors. I don't really listen to a lot of like non-actor singers over there. So to get to see like kind of what a band is like is pretty interesting. And we're still dealing with the whole like, idols don't date, and other things are very similar, but also I'm like, that's really crazy considering XYZ is a thing over there. So really quick shout out, Jung is in the show as an idol called Ice, and his version of Would You Mind plays. I think that's what the song is called. Me saying Would You Mind, and then suddenly I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what the song is called. But they apparently, because that's something that is very apparent in all, it's Would You Mind, in all companies, is that just because you write a song doesn't mean you get to use it, because it was a song that Mars was going to use, and then it gets taken out from under them after they just worked on this project because the CEO finds out and gives it to Ice and is like, this song's written for you. Bullshit. It was written by the members of Mars, and she took it and gave it to him so that they couldn't release it. But it was kind of crazy that like I didn't realize that version of the song is the only one that was played the most. It's really good, I will say. They're both really good versions. So I want to play. This is not my first time watching the series before. Like, I'd watched a couple episodes here and there. It's very different when you watch something all the way through. So I think the storyline for me that really got to me was obviously the Pepper storyline, because it goes into the ThamePo one. It is about idols dating. It is crazy to me that, not crazy, but it's just one of those things where the idea of idols not being able to date has always been a weird concept to me. I've always been that person where when fans that are not from Korea and Japan and whatever are like, they're all dating, all these idols date. I'm like, yeah, probably. But you know what? Probably not, because you know why? I don't think they would want to risk it. Because, in this series, so we find out Pepper has a girlfriend, and he's kept it quiet because he knows that like what will happen, and the reason why he doesn't want to continue with the group after they get back together is because he knows if it comes out, which it's getting really close, that it'll cause a scandal. And then it does, because the CEO, the bitch, literally gives the leakers photos of Pepper and his girlfriend, because they were about to leak photos of Thame and Poe, which for a second I was like, what does it, well, not the dating thing, but apparently it's because he was gay, or because it was a gay relationship, because apparently the Korea company is very strict on that. I'm like, well, no shit, because it's kind of funny when I lately, that conversation of like which idols in Korea are gay. The reason why we won't see a lot of them is because Korea is still a very strict country when it comes to the LGBT community. So it's understanding why she would have leaked Pepper, but also fucked up. And it's like crazy because Thailand, at the very least, is a little more understanding, but because he's trying to debut in Korea. But it was really sad. So like Pepper's girlfriend ends up breaking up with him because she like basically calls him on as like, we can't be together because it's going to ruin my career, but really she's more concerned about his career. And then it leads to Poe doing the same thing when it gets revealed that like they have photos of him and Tame, and it's just so heartbreakingly sad, and it pissed me off. So like the fangirl character, like she redeems herself at the end, but the fact that like she basically tells Poe the reason why she can't continue the Twitter is because she doesn't know how to feel, that this broke her heart, that it just isn't right. Like Pepper, because Pepper was her bias, like Pepper dating someone, not dating in general, ruins it. I never understood this concept. Like, I understand them doing like a boyfriend thing, but we don't own them. We don't own these people. Who cares if they're dating? Like, my God. And the fact that he has to like go into in front of a press conference after he gets dumped, and luckily his bandmates hold his hand being like, I'm no longer with this girl. And you see the fans in the background become really happy because it's exposed that he was dating someone older, and they're like, oh, thank God. Oh, that was before. Like, fuck you. If you are hating on idols because they date, fuck you. It was like, what was it, that member of aespa who it was revealed she was dating an actor and then they broke up after a couple weeks? Like, Jesus fucking Christ. And she had to write an apology. I fucking hate that shit. It pisses me off so much, and it was so just heartbreaking to watch. And luckily they get back together at the end, but it just speaks a lot about idol culture. But then it's kind of crazy to watch that happen in a show like this, considering that like, okay, this is a show with an actual idol group playing the characters of an idol group, because LYKN is Mars, who for the most part people want them in couplings. I've seen couplings and pairings, but like it's also then kind of funny because yeah, William and Esther are a pair, but how much you want to bet if it came out that they were actually dating that people would be pissed? Because people get pissed when they do come out as they're actually dating, and then they get pissed when they come out when they're not dating, and pissed when they find out that they're dating a girl or whatever. Like, how many times have we seen the Xenu get denied as fake because, oh, Z's hanging out with a girl who's a friend, even though despite the fact that they have said very clearly many times they're together. Down and Offroad's like, we're together. I don't know why you people keep thinking we're not together. They don't have to spell it out for you. They don't have to make a big announcement and go in front of a press and be like, we are dating. We are together. You literally can see him being like, this is our relationship. What we are showing you is what we are. We are not fan servicing it. Why do you have to hear the words, we are dating? You don't need to hear that. You just have to see it. And if you don't believe it, you don't have to harass them. It's just, so angry. Lilia, what do you think? So Lilia just said that she agreed, just in case you guys were wondering. Also, just quick tangent. I know that the point of this, I'm just going to mention my favorite scene before I go on to my next little thing about like the villain of the series. There was a whole like underlining arc of Poe not being able to tell the sandwich guy like, hey, I actually am single now, so I don't need 2 sandwiches. So homeboy kept buying like 2 fucking sandwiches. I kept like screaming, Poe, my guy, stand up for yourself. Stop paying for 2 sandwiches. It's not necessary. It is 2 tuna sandwiches. Like, my guy, what the fuck? But that leads into my favorite scene, because obviously the whole point is that he keeps getting 2 sandwiches, and then here comes Thame, the boy he's going to share the other sandwich with, right? I will say my favorite scene is, so Thame comes over to Netflix and chill they don't hook up. He literally just goes home and sleep after the movie. He's like, oh, the movie's done. And it leads to the members of Mars. It's funny, like this whole like sequence of scenes. He goes back to the house because they all go back living into like their house, band house that they weren't living in before. Now they are again. And they're all getting ready to go to like do whatever like thing they're scheduled to do that day. And they're like, oh, I wonder where Thame is. Well, they're like, well, he did say he's gonna go to Poe's house and watch a movie, so I bet you he's not gonna be home. And then cut to he comes in and goes, hey guys, you ready to go? And they're looking at him like, my guy, what the fuck? He's like, they'll look at it. My favorite is like Lego putting his hand on his nose, being like, Jesus Christ. Because they like say to him, what do you think watching a movie means, my dude? And he's like, oh, does it mean sleeping together? Do you think he knows that? It was one of those moments where I'm just like, nah, he's too sheltered. He's too sheltered. And it's even funnier because before they watch the movie, he goes to a store to pick up snacks and he picks up what looks like a small box. It ends up being candy, but poor Poe, thinking it was condoms, he was like ready. He prepared himself and everything. He was ready to go. And then it turns out it was just candy. And so he goes back. He tells Poe, like, we didn't really finish that movie. It's like, don't do that. You already fucked it up. Don't do that. You killed it for me. So, no, but they do go finish the movie, but quote unquote. But before they can, his like the fangirl friend comes in and it's like, because throughout the entire time he's been asking her for romance advice, being like, what if Mr. A and Mr. B like each other? And he's obviously Mr. B or whatever. And she's going to the house like, I know someone's here. She doesn't find him. And then she freaks out because she notices that Poe still has all his extra stuff in his closet and in the house. And that makes Thame jealous because like literally a shirt falls on his shoulder and it turns out it's the extra shirt. So he makes him donate and throw out everything and replace it with his stuff. And I just thought that was really like funny and it was cute, like jealous, cute. Like, you're my boyfriend now. I just thought that was really sweet. So my last tangent is just to go over the CEO of this fucking company. Obviously we have the like cohort like minion. His name is, I think it was like Mick or something, who's like a lazy bastard. I want to point out all he does is sleep. It's crazy, but he works for this evil CEO lady. Her plan of wanting to debut one member and disband the group really peeved me off because it didn't seem realistic to me. I don't know why. I was like, this doesn't make sense. You're not going to disband a group that's doing really well just to send one member off to another country. You send him off, say he's leaving the group, and then continue with the other four. They're all popular. Very popular. Like, come on. And then like, she was just obviously evil incarnate, like sending out Pepper's photos of him and his girlfriend, exposing them and causing them to break up and all that shit. Like, she was pissing me off. Like, literally the entire time she was the true villain. To the point where, like, she agrees, like, oh, the Korea team has agreed to take all of them. Because they get an all kill on charts. So they're like, if you get an all kill, I will talk to the Korea team and we will get all of Mars to go to Korea. And then she lies to them and it's like, yeah, it happened. And then when they go on TV and they're excited to talk about the fact that they're all going to go to Korea, she stops them because she's there and goes, actually, it's still just Thame that's going. The rest of the group will continue without him. And that's when we get the scene where Lego cries. And that's the scene where I was like, I'm going to burn this bitch because she made my son cry. Like, how fucking dare she? But what annoyed me about the story was like, so far it's been a great plot. I've enjoyed it. This whole Wattpad, like idol and fan, photographer, whatever, get together type thing. It literally ends with her. So it ends with them at their big final concert. The boys hijack it, basically expose that they're going to keep Thame. Thame's not going to Korea. And they get back together. The concert's ruined. And she's like, you know what? I don't want, from now on, you guys aren't artists under this company. No, we don't want to deal with you. Blah, blah, blah. Basically being like, we're going to release you from your contract. You still have to pay us back, but you can continue. And I'm like, that's it? That's it? You're not. What was the point? What was the point of all of that if you were just going to let them go? And then the crazier part is that we go to the very end where they're performing their new single and it reveals that she is letting them continue with the name Mars and with their songs. What was the point of all of that if we're just going to just be like, I've turned over a new leaf and I'm going to give you boys what you want? That was my one big gripe about that whole show. So Other than that, it was great. I will say I love S. Before he was at GMM, he was in one of my favorite The Monday shows. He was in, I believe, Naughty. He was just a Naughty Babe. I don't think he was in. Okay, so he was only in Naughty Babe. He wasn't in Cutie Pie, but I love him in Naughty Babe. He played like a bodyguard. He played Max's bodyguard, and that's the first time I saw him. So when I noticed he was in this, I was like, my bodyguard friend. So, and then obviously I've seen him in Me and Thee and all that other stuff. And I sadly didn't get to go to the fan meet for him and William because that just would have been too much. My whole thought process, I should have mentioned this earlier, but now that we're getting to the end, my whole thought process is in that was that I'm already gonna meet William at the fan sign. And as much as I would love to meet S, it just would have been too much money to be spending. So I had to make a choice. But hopefully I'll see him at the next one. Who knows? But overall, ThamePo was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. It's definitely one that I definitely probably will watch again. And when it comes to LYKN, I love listening to their music. I listen to them all the time. And obviously I had a great time at the show, and they're coming back again in August, and they haven't announced the pricing yet for that one. So depending on how crazy that is, will determine if I go or not. Maybe I'll go this time with like a lower tier ticket since I've already met them. But yeah, and okay, so they are participating in LOL Fest, which is, like I said, I'm going to try and get a ticket. I'm hoping to get a top tier ticket. I have to figure out how the hell to buy a ticket to an event in Thailand. But luckily they don't go on sale for another 6 days, I think. So hopefully I get tickets. That's my birthday weekend. And I really would love to go and see them again. Or actually get to see them at least on stage. That reminds me, I'm going to mention this here because it's a William S. thing. And I'll say it again when we do Me and Thee. But at the fan day for Pod Puin, while we were waiting for everyone to finish their photos, because we had high touch, we were sitting upstairs. I was falling asleep because I had gone up really early in the morning. I hear someone shriek while we were waiting in the balcony. William and S ran past us. So technically, I did get to see William and S up close as they ran past us. So that was really fun. But yeah, that's basically my thoughts on ThamePo. It was a lot of fun. It's really cute. I enjoy it. I recommend it, for anyone who loves Wattpad stories, things like that. I believe this is also one of the few BLs that actually has an English translation done for it that you can get off a GMM book app. I don't know how to get the book. I know there's a physical copy. I'm hoping to get a copy when I go to Thailand. If they sell physical copies, I think they do. So maybe I'll get that and read it, and we'll do a review on that at a later time. But I guess it's time for my rating. So I was a little stingy with the whole plot ending and how all that resolved. But other than that, the show overall was great. I enjoyed the characters, the music, the production. I wish it wasn't on YouTube, but that's nothing to do with me or the show itself. But I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. We're going to give ThamePo an 8 out of 10. Claps for claps, right, Lilia? She wooed. And so 8 out of 10. And our song of the week, because it was not featured in the show, or at least the Ice version or her drunk version was, we are going to make it Would You Mind. It is definitely my favorite LYKN song. So that is going to be our song of the week. And that's going to be it for this week's episode. I hope if you were at the LYKN concert, you had a great time. And catch us here next week for when we do Me and Thee. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
All right, guys, that's it for this entry. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media accounts. On Twitter, you can find us at FG Diaries Pod. On Tumblr, TikTok, and Instagram, you'll find us at FG Diaries Podcast. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and hope you all have a wonderful fangirly day.